All right, so for wood stamps, you don't need a holder because it comes already on a block of wood, so your stamp is good to go. However, with both the clear acrylic and the cling rubber, you need acrylic blocks. They're just clear plastic blocks. These cling to the block just like a window clings to a window, and that's all you do to it. Some of them will have grid lines on them. I don't know if you can see them. That just makes it easier to line up and have things straight, especially if you're using words, but not all of them have them. And for myself, they're sometimes handy, but I don't really pay attention to the grid that often. If by chance, after using your stamp a lot and cleaning your stamp a lot, you're finding it's not sticking to the block as well, typically that will be from ink residue or stamp cleaning residue. Wash both your block and your stamp with some warm soapy water and dry them off completely, and you should be good to go just like new. And that works for the acrylic stamps as well. The one thing to do, I would maybe wash them in a separate container and not wash them in your sink, because if by chance you've missed a piece and there's one sitting in your sink and it's really tiny and you pull the drain, it'll go down your drain. So I typically do them in a separate container so that I don't risk that happening. Most of the time when I'm stamping, I am going to be using just the acrylic block and just eyeballing where things go. If by chance you're doing a project that you want things to be positioned perfectly, there is a tool here. This is called the Position It. You can also get just L brackets or braces or whatever, and you can put your acrylic block in the corner and position your stamp and then put it on your block exactly how you're wanting it to go, so that you have some control over exactly where you are going to stamp. So for instance, say I don't have a spare piece of paper near me. Say I have a piece of paper in there and I know I want the stamp to be exactly right there. That's exactly how I want it positioned, and I do that before I ink anything. I will go and I will put this block right in the corner and then press down to put it on my block. Then I will ink it up, and I will know, and I usually have my piece of paper taped right on there. I will know that I want that stamp exactly there. I will ink it, and I can stamp it exactly where I want it to go on my piece of paper. The other thing, especially when you're new, if you don't get a clear stamping, if you've got a positioner and you know exactly where it is, everything's taped or whatever, if I don't get a clear image, I can go and re-ink this stamp and place it down exactly the same place the first one went, and I can stamp things exactly in the same position all the time. The other thing too is if I'm doing a bunch of exactly the same card and I want them to be identical, you can use a tool like this. Another tool you can use is, this is very similar. The only difference between that and this one is this is on hinges, so I can put my piece of paper in here, put my stamp exactly where I want it to go on my piece of paper, and then this particular one side says clear, the other side says rubber. I put it on the rubber side, lift up my stamp, ink it. It's exactly the same thing. I can stamp it down. If by chance I didn't get a clear image, I can ink it again and stamp it again. So I'll be using this tool a couple times throughout the class, changing it from clear to rubber depending on what stamp I am using. This exact version is discontinued. You can't buy it anymore, but there are versions out there. I know Misty is one company that carries them, so it shouldn't be too hard to find a version of a stamp press like this. If I find one, I will link it to or on the supply list so you can find your own. But it is a really great tool to have, especially if you're starting out and for certain techniques that we're going to be doing throughout this class. We will see you in the next video.